Good afternoon. Today is September 5th, 2025, and I'm coming to you from Washington, D.C. I am Cindy Allen. I'm CEO of Trade Force Multiplier, a international trade consulting group, and welcome to Simply Trade, Cindy's version. This is where I take a Taylor Swift song and base an international trade update on the song. Today's meeting is focused on bad blood. I think we have some bad blood. Given the impact of the removal of de minimis from all modes of transportation, including postal, some countries have withheld shipments via postal due to that withdrawal and due to the inability to collect and pay duty to U.S. Customs. Before we get into that and talk about that bad blood, let's talk about what else happened this week. So last Friday, as usual, what happened is the court case in IEEPA was decided at the Federal Appeals Court, and they upheld the lower court's decision that IEEPA's tariffs were not legally collected with the IEEPA authority. However, not much has changed, because that court then suspended their action pending what was anticipated to be a review at the Supreme Court. And we did learn earlier this week that the administration has asked the court not only to hear the case, but to expedite the case so that there is a decision sooner rather than later. Lots of questions around how importers can protect their entries from being liquidated and being allowed any refunds that might come as a result of a positive for the trade IEEPA decision. We've seen lots of lawyers and consultants opine on how best to protect your entries from ensuring that you can either get a refund or ask for a refund. And I have seen everything from file post summary corrections, which, is kind of an iffy proposition if you don't have a reason to file a correction on how the entry was actually filed. I've seen some attorneys recommend filing a protest. Of course, protest requires liquidation. You have 90 days to file a protest. So if your entries have liquidated, many lawyers are advising to file a protest pending the outcome of the court case. And for most importers, the advice is monitor your liquidation reports. We think that if your entries have not yet liquidated, there's a good chance they aren't going to be liquidated before the IEEPA decision comes down from the Supreme Court. So just monitor, use your customs broker, use the ACE reports, and monitor the liquidation of your entries to make sure that you have the availability to receive those refunds. Lots of questions about how the refunds are going to be handled. Is CBP going to just issue refunds? How are they going to get those refunds to the importers? Is it going to come via an ACH statement? Is it going to come via check? Are there going to be one check for each entry? Is it going to go to your customs broker? We have to file a protest. We have to file a post summary correction. We don't know the answers to those questions. We can speculate based on previous actions, but I don't think anyone knows yet how those refunds, if they are granted, are going to occur. So stay tuned for more information, not only on the court case decision coming from the Supreme Court, but also additional information from the administration, the Department of Commerce, CBP, on how those refunds are going to be processed. What else happened? Well, we have a Japan trade deal. Details came out 2 days ago announcing that the duty is going to be similar to the way the EU duties are collected. It's 15%. If you're paying less than that, then you pay the normal most favored nation or MFN duty rate, and then you make up the difference up to 15% of the IEEPA duty. If the duty is under 15% or over 15% for the MFN rate, you then apply the IEEPA at the 15%. So at least there is some continuity with how the trade deal with the EU and the trade deal with Japan is going to be applied. That makes everything a little bit easier for importers and a little bit easier for customs brokers. So it's like cut and paste. So here's hoping that the continued trade deals will come out in a similar fashion of something that we've already programmed, so we aren't starting fresh. Um, so let's get to the bad blood. Due to the de minimis elimination, we have seen more than a dozen countries pause or suspend packages in international mail to the US. Most are citing that there is not an available method for them to collect duty, assess the duty accurately, and then pay it to the US government. So they suspended their collection and delivery to the US for postal shipments, not for letters. Those haven't been impacted, but for any packages that are coming. This has created backlogs in other countries, and also some bad blood with the administration. There's been reportedly some strong words between some of the postal services and the U.S. Postal Service, as well as the U.S. administration. Um, to address how to collect that duty, assess the duty, and to pay it to the U.S. government, there has been a referral or an outline that CBP has put out and the administration has put out, bucketing the duty rates. If you have this up to a certain percentage, you pay a dollar amount, and there are 3 buckets of those to pay, or you can simply pay the IEEPA country duty. So a lot of companies are now looking, should I stop doing O1 entries and actually send my shipments via postal and only pay the IEEPA duty that is due for that country? That in many cases is less than what they're paying in the O1 entry, especially if they don't have any available means or they have stacking that is occurring on their O1 entries. This may be a viable option for many e-commerce companies. I don't think that was what the administration intended for this. However, e-commerce companies are going to find the easiest and least expensive way to bring their goods in a compliant manner. So many companies are looking at that as a viable option. In that EO, we did see that customs did, or the administration did, name the carriers as a party that could collect that duty, but they also had authorized representatives that could collect that duty and pay it to the US government. The carriers essentially said, we want nothing to do with this. We don't know what's in those packages. They manifested as international mail, so we don't have the details to accurately assess the duty. We don't have the details, even in some cases, to know what country of origin these goods came from. We don't have the ability to detail that, collect that money from our clients, and then tender it to U.S. Customs. So most of them have backed away from doing that. That has allowed an opening for several companies to come in and develop that as a service offering. We saw a handful of companies that were actually named by CBP recently in an FRN and a CSMS that have been approved for this duty payment method and will be collecting that duty from their customers, tendering it to U.S. Customs as a service for those customers. So who are those customers? In some cases, we're seeing that specific companies are hiring these authorized agents to assess the duty and pay it to U.S. Customs. In some cases, we're seeing countries overall are engaging these services for anything that transits the postal service from their country to the U.S. They will be paying via that method. And in some cases, we're seeing that they're being engaged by carriers because the carriers are authorized and they want to offer that as an option to their clients. So it could be any one of those 3. We're still determining how this will all shake out, how those customers will be charged. Will the foreign postal services charge the senders of those goods? The duty rates are going to be assessed. Will you get a COD on a package when it's being delivered to your mail? We don't know yet. We do know that some companies are already participating in this and that they are seeing success with this. So we do see that, these interim measures for postal services are starting to work. And we do expect that as this continues to roll out, those countries that have suspended packages to the United States will begin again to collect and deliver those shipments to the United States. Some countries have come out and said that they want to disengage e-commerce from their postal services. We don't know how that is going to play out. I haven't seen any official statements from any foreign governments or foreign postal services that they will not entertain that in the long run. Most are communicating that they're looking for solutions right now that they can implement across their postal service to the United States. The UPU, which is the Universal Postal Union, which is part of the UN, it's a treaty between all of the participants of the UN and an agreement on how postal products are collected and delivered and treated between the countries. The UPU has weighed in after many, many years of communicating that they have the ultimate authority and have indicated that the U.S. government actually does have the authority over their customs processes, and that they, as a sovereign nation, have the authority to apply a customs process or a customs service on the importation of goods coming into the United States. For many years, the UPU denied that any of the sovereign countries had the ability to do that. So this is quite a U-turn for the UPU, and it did support CBP's and the administration's recent actions to require that duty be paid and that a customs type of service is implemented for all packages coming into the United States. And as a matter of fact, the STOP Act, which was passed 5 or 6 years ago and dealt with the information flow on postal goods coming into the United States that the UPU wasn't necessarily in support of. They are now, the new language and their new position is now in support of the STOP Act. And the STOP Act, I had to dig it out and read it again. It does allow the U.S. Postal Service to appoint a customs broker as a nominal consignee or an importer. So that means if the Postal Service wanted to go down that path, and if the administration wanted to support that, the Postal Service could actually hire a customs broker to handle all of those packages and the duty payments into the United States. I was a little shocked that they didn't take that action because they have the basis in law to actually do that already. But I think that that might be a future action that they look at. But this interim measure does seem to fill the bill right now, although it still is creating some bad blood overall. So that's the International Trade Update, Cindy's version today, and we'll talk to you next week.